If you've had a long day, the last thing you need is a dinner recipe that requires a million different types of ingredients. And having worked as a chef and being a super keen home cook, I truly believe that less is more. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite 5 ingredient meals. They're simple to make, but absolutely don't compromise on flavor. So buckle up and let's get to it. The first recipe I'm sharing with you is my Pot Tomato Orzo. It's actually inspired by an ottolenghi recipe that's called like orzo with prawns, tomatoes, and marinated feta. I had it for the first time a few years ago with my friends in France, and it was absolutely delicious. But if you've ever made one of ottolenghi's recipes before, you'll know that the ingredients list tends to be quite extensive. So I've recreated the recipe and made my own version to make it only 5 ingredients, and it's fantastic. So to begin, get yourself some cherry tomatoes. I bought some that are on the vine, but you can just get regular cherry tomatoes if you fancy. Place the tomatoes in a pan with a big glug of olive oil. I'm using Good Fats olive oil. They sent me some of their stuff to try, and I am totally obsessed. I also just love the squirty element of it. Like instead of one of these fun things, the squirty vessel is so fun. Add in a big pinch of sea salt. I love Maldon or Cornish sea salt. The taste compared to table salt, it's just like way less crude, much more flavorful and delicate. Now, embarrassingly, I've actually run out of black pepper. It's always one of those things, isn't it, that you run out of and then you forget to buy it. It's so annoying. But anyway, please use it. We're gonna fry off the tomatoes for around 10 minutes. I actually cooked them with a lid on because they can be very spitty with the oil and the juices. It just goes everywhere, so highly recommend a lid. Now I'm just chopping up the garlic really finely. You could also mince it. And once we've done that, let's add in the orzo, garlic, and chili flakes into the tomatoes and fry for a few minutes. If you don't have orzo, I would recommend just using any kind of small pasta like macaroni or whatever. But you could also use a longer form pasta like spaghetti, bucatini, linguine, pappardelle. They would all go really, really well with this type of dish as well. Now, just a brief chat about chili flakes. You can totally use fresh chilies if you fancy, but I'm just using chili flakes here. I'm adding about half a teaspoon, but feel free to add more or less depending on your spice tolerance. What I've actually done as well is added in half a teaspoon now, and then at the end, when I've served up, you can always sprinkle with a little bit more chili flakes if you fancy. You kind of then get that like fresh punch of chili flakes, as well as the more infused hot flavour in the dish. Okay, so I've just boiled the kettle and now we're gonna add in around 500 millilitres of chicken stock into the orzo pan. The chicken stock is an additional ingredient on top of the 5 essential ingredients, so you don't have to use it. However, it does add a little bit more flavour, and I also think that chicken stock, especially if you're just using chicken stock cubes or veggie stock cubes, I feel like the majority of us have them in our cupboard. So if you can use it, then that would be amazing. If not, then just make sure to season the boiling water with a bit of salt. So like just taste and see how you go. We're gonna pour that in and let it simmer, stirring frequently until the orzo is cooked. Should take around 10 minutes, and the end result should be this silky pasta dish with oodles of flavor. Just give it a little taste to check that the orzo is done and that the seasoning is perfect for you. Now we're gonna serve up, and our final ingredient is feta. It's the perfect tangy contrast to our sweet tomatoes. Now this dish is perfect as is, but if you want to add a little bit of like freshness or kind of herbiness to the dish, then I'd recommend sprinkling over a little bit of dried oregano. That'd be really nice. I love this dish. I really hope you enjoy it. Up next, we've got a really dreamy, creamy butterbean dish. It's baked in the oven, it's all made in one pan, and you can eat it as is or serve it alongside pasta, rice, bread, potatoes, whatever tickles you fancy. Now, I'm using bold bean butter beans for this recipe because they are simply the best. Amelia, the founder, is such a gem, and their products are just absolutely fantastic. You could also use chickpeas or cannellini beans or borlotti beans or lentils. This dish is kind of accepting of all bean. Yeah. And if you don't have access to the Bold Bean Company brand, then feel free to use your regular tinned, canned, jarred butter beans. I will say though, I'm adding in the bean juice because if you think about it, the beans are essentially just chilling out in this broth that keeps them really flavorful. So it would be a shame to throw that away. So this is completely up to you. You can rinse the beans if you like, but I'm just adding in the beans with their juices as part of the sauce. So add that all to a deep-ish baking dish and then follow with some finely chopped garlic, single or light cream. You could also use double cream, but I just don't really feel like you need that extra richness. I'm then going in with some grated cheddar and grated parmesan. Now this dish is perfect as is. We've used our 5 ingredients. We have reached the limit. However, if you do want to season the dish with like an extra warmth of flavour, then feel free to add in some ground nutmeg. Just a tiny bit, like 1/8 of a teaspoon. Season with a big pinch of sea salt and a large grinding of black pepper. Then give everything a really, really good mix, top with more cheese, then place it in the oven for 30 minutes until brown and bubbling. Now I'm choosing to serve this with a lovely slice of sourdough bread, but as I said before, feel free to serve it however you want. There's something so comforting about this dish, and it's honestly so easy to make. If you've just come back from work, it literally takes 5 minutes to rustle up in the dish, then you whack it in the oven for half an hour while you have a shower, decompress, chill out, and then bam, you've got yourself a phenomenal, delicious meal. The next recipe I'm sharing with you is a personal favourite. It's a noodle recipe, of course. And in this dish, we've got noodles, we've got aubergine, we've got soy sauce, peanut butter, and garlic. Those are our 5 ingredients. So let me talk to you a little bit about each ingredient. Noodles. I'm using soba noodles, which are a type of buckwheat noodle, but you could use udon, ramen, rice noodles. Use whatever you've got in your pantry or whatever's easiest to get at your local shop, and just cook them according to packet instructions. I'm then using aubergine. Such a great vegetable. And when boiled, which is how we're cooking it today, it gives off this really silky, delicious, semi-mushy texture. And if you want to add in more vegetables, or you just want to swap out aubergine for another type of vegetable, then I'd recommend using mushrooms, mange tout, baby sweet corn, and then not a vegetable, but you could use extra firm tofu for a kind of extra texture, nutrient ingredient. Okay, then for the sauce, I'm going to be using light soy sauce, crunchy peanut butter rather than smooth, but that's just personal preference, and freshly minced garlic. And also, just by the way, feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below. I'm super happy to answer. So to begin, we're going to slice our aubergine into strips like this. Then I'm going to place them in salted boiling water to boil for 5 minutes. I'm then adding in the soba noodles and cooking according to packet instructions. They usually take a few minutes. Once the aubergines are soft and the noodles are cooked, we're going to strain everything and add it all back to the pan. Meanwhile, we're going to combine the soy sauce, peanut butter, and garlic in a little bowl. I'd also recommend seasoning with a pinch of sugar just to balance out the flavors, and add some of that aubergine noodle water into the bowl as well to loosen up the sauce. Then it's ready to go. Drizzle it all over your noodles, then combine thoroughly. Okay, it's time to serve up. I love drizzling this dish with a little bit of chili oil. Obviously, it's totally optional. Obviously, we've gone past our 5 ingredient limit, so you don't need it. You could also garnish with sesame seeds, spring onions, or chives. Ooh, also a lovely jammy egg on top would be so good as well. Ooh, ooh, ooh. The flavors in this dish are so darn good. And yet it's such an easy dinner to make. I hope you love it. Okay, to follow that absolute gorgeous slurpy dish, I'm bringing you a recipe that you could really have for breakfast, lunch, supper, serve it at a dinner party. I mean, it's unbelievably versatile. It's my leek and ham tart using puff pastry, the best pastry of all. Now, yes, you could use short crust pastry or phyllo pastry as well. To begin, get your leek and slice it all the way down in half, and make sure to give it a good wash to get rid of all the gritty bits in the middle. Once you've done that, slice away and add the leeks to a pan with olive oil, a big pinch of sea salt, and a huge grind of black pepper. I'd restocked on my black pepper by this point, so whoop whoop. I'm frying the leeks for around 10 minutes. I'm just stirring them frequently until the leeks are caramelized slightly and browned. I'm giving them a taste, and they are so perfectly seasoned. You know, when they're kind of like slightly sweet, slightly salty, but yeah, make sure to season according to your preferences. Meanwhile, we're slicing our ham. Now, I'm just using regular ham, but feel free to use prosciutto, lardons. Make sure to cook them with the leeks if you want to use them. Bacon would also work too. Once again, cook them with the leeks and they'll add like a really nice salty flavor. But because we're going with ham, add the ham into the leek dish once the leeks are ready and cooked, and make sure to turn off the heat. Give it a mix and then add in the creme fraiche followed by grated parmesan. Now I'm unrolling the puff pastry, placing it onto an oven tray, and then I'm literally just transferring the leek and ham mixture to the center of the puff pastry. I'm spreading it out, but leaving an inch from the edge of the pastry because I'm then gonna fold in the puff pastry to make a galette style tart. Grate over the Parmesan cheese, and then I'm placing it in the oven for 20 minutes until golden and puffed. Holy moly moly, what a dish. Let's slice it up and give it a try because it is so thick and creamy. Oh my goodness, that is absolutely phenomenal. Look at her. I really hope you enjoyed these recipes, my friends. Make sure to stick around, and I will see you next week for another video.